if it's all right, I'll start here with my people in Panama who've been in an uproarious protest for a couple weeks, and there's no sign of it abating as this global protest uh, of anti-colonial and anti-labor struggles continue. But Panama's mining future is at a tipping point, according to the good people at Forbes. This is Forbes, right? FP. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Foreign policy. Sorry, this is foreign policy. One of them. Um, and short of it is, a contentious mining contract has plunged Panama into protest, triggering its most significant episode of social upheaval in decades. Since October 16th, the public has taken to the streets in historic numbers, with no signs of abating despite concessions made by the government. Long story short, it's just coal. More mineral extraction and abuse of the community and the labor. Minera Panama got a deal that allows them to extract unrestricted mineral exploitation with only a 2% royalty payment. It exacerbates the inequality. People are out in the streets. So just want to shout them out and encourage that they continue going on. The mine is operated by Minera Panama, a local subsidiary of the Canadian company First Quantum Minerals, also partly owned by South Korea's state-run Korea Resources Corporation. So it's sort of with support of the United States and the neo-colonial leadership. It's sort of like a whole Western collaborative effort of extraction, exploitation.
Yeah.
So,
We have a
but
piece,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, today's a Communist Thursday. We do have a piece coming out today by Comrade Chris, who's a member of Black Alliance for Peace, actually, but they're connecting the DRC and what's happening in Panama and Palestine, just raising the issue of extractivist economy and how that's been playing out. But I do think what I've noticed, especially in terms of like the Congo and the Caribbean at large, and then Panama, Canada really does not get any smoke in terms of how embedded they are in the imperialist project, because they're able to hide behind the U.S., which is, the bigger beast. But Canada has always been in these regions extracting. Like the Canadian mine companies, I think there was a collapse in Burkina Faso most recently, earlier this year. And that was a Canadian mine company. But we're seeing this play out continuously. And we're seeing it play out in Haiti. We're seeing it play out on the shores of most of the Caribbean countries, Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados. Canada has a big, big mining imprint. So, ecology-wise, they pose a major issue, but in terms of imperialist projects, most of what they're doing, like their support of the core group and their positions in these institutions, is so that they can also expand their own hegemony. So they're just part and parcel of the NATO, structure, but they also have their own motivations that I think just continuously gets ignored, and Canada gets spoken about as some sort of peaceful, apolitical nation. And it's not. It's a settler colony just the same as the U.S. And you see that play out in how they treat the global South.
Yeah, no doubt. And I don't think I was clear enough on this. Just let me just clarify that at the center of this movement is Cobre Panama mine, one of the world's largest copper mines and notably the largest private investment in Panama's history. When the copper deposit was identified in 1968, it was described by one newspaper as an economic asset as great as the Panama Canal. So that just gives a little more context as to how important all of, or at least this subset of what you're talking about is to that part. And that kind of comparison to the Panama Canal, if we think about how much violence and death and abuse has gone into that project for its purposes and the wealth it creates, that's pretty big. So
the Panama Canal was a reason for the start of Southcom. So the Southern Command in that region was part and parcel of, because I believe Panama was the original headquarters for Southcom.
Probably, I don't know for sure, but that would make sense because Panama. I mean, even the airport, like all of the marketing is like Panama is the gateway to the south or whatever. It's like I forgot the exact language, but it's like the gate everybody talks about. It's like the doorway, and even in it's been a couple of years, but one of the articles I used to always go back to on the history of Panama, you can read the U.S. military's discussion of its creation in advance of its creation, and that's all they're talking about. We just need to create this new entity called Panama so that we can control it and cut our way through.
Right.
It's just like and then if you go back, oh, I got what's her name? The sister that was on
Margaret
did
Stevens.
no, no, the one I did the interview with earlier this year about race in Panama, where she talks
Okay.
about this history. I can't remember her name, but she talks about the construction of race that had to conform to U.S. notions of race in Panama for the new leadership to be legitimized. And so all of it is connected. You see what I'm saying? So yeah.
I'm also wondering how much of a connection this has to what, like, obviously much of the motivation for like the attacks on Nicaragua is for full control of that region, but also Colombia is building a U.S. military base, even with their leftist government. So I wonder to what extent that has to do with what we're seeing in Panama, right? Because I think 2 protesters have already been murdered by the state.
You know what? I don't know for sure, but there have been. Yeah, I think it's at least that. Yeah. You know what? I don't even know for sure, but yeah. It's not being welcomed. I think we could.
Is it ever though?
We could fall back on that. That one.
This
just
reminded
in
me.
case.
I need to follow up on the bauxite fight in Jamaica because this is sounding very. It's reminding me very much of that fight in Cockpit Country and what's been going on there for years now with the red dust and the bauxite. So I haven't looked into it in a while to see if they started tearing down the rainforest. So I should probably look